to have any good relationship, you have to be vulnerable and you have to put yourself out there.
Faith without works is dead. You have to reach out. You have to ask the questions that you don't know.
Relationships are rocket ships.
There you go.
And relationships will take you places that you never thought you'd be able to go. Hey everybody, welcome to Dynamic Range episode 8. Alfredo and I were having a little discussion offline what episode we're on, but I believe it's 8. If it's not, then I'll use 11 Labs and switch it up in post. So welcome to Dynamic Range. Here we encourage and inspire entrepreneurs and creatives to create, to cultivate, so we can all conquer. And I'm joined by my co-host Alfredo Briones, my amazing friend who, man, it's just crazy like how the Lord works and how he brings people in your life and just how oftentimes we're literally like on the same step of this journey of creative entrepreneurship. Even this week, I mean, we've been talking about where we're at with our businesses, with our life, with our health and everything. It's just wild. So Alfredo, welcome again to Dynamic Range.
It's good to be here. Just this week, I've been these past 2 days really since we were talking about what we're even going to talk about on this episode. I had been contemplating or sitting on this topic just because I want to get straight into it, because I feel like I have a hard time differentiating what's a relationship and what's just business. And sometimes, we talked about this recently, but whenever I get a new client, right? Because I want to have a solid relationship with some people, but sometimes it's just work that has to get done.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about that today. I think many creatives struggle with, in business, how to build relationships, but also personally, because, we're always working on, editing, filming. And as soon as we get done with the gig, it's time to go back and post and try to get everything finalized. But even just as a personal level, I still sometimes struggle with that and building solid relationships, and relationships that are not just to help you grow in business, but grow personally. And so, that to me, I think it's important to talk about. But before we go, I want to point out we're both wearing tan. So I thought that was funny. We didn't plan that. Tan shirts.
No, we didn't.
However, what does that logo mean?
Hey, shout out. God is a designer.
Talk about that
Department
logo.
of Design and Aesthetics. So I'm gonna have to get Angel on here to talk about this because, dude, I wore this on purpose, right?
Yeah.
So it's from a brand called God is a Designer, right here. And just straight up talking about relationships, right? So our youngest daughter, Margot, I'll let people know this. Probably not many people on YouTube know this, but our youngest daughter, Margot, she's 2 right now. She has Down syndrome. She was born with Down syndrome. We had no idea. It was a huge shock to us. And anyway, she was born in June, and it was probably like October, November. Morgan and the kids and I were all sitting out on the back porch on the swing and just talking about all the things we love about Margot. And, we started rattling things off. And, Morgan's like, oh, we should write a book. And so anyway, she turned it into a book. I mean, that's just how awesome my wife is. That's just the way that she thinks. And so I've been following this brand, God is a Designer, for a long time. I don't know, a lot of the creative community is familiar with a guy named Chris Do. Chris Do is a phenomenal graphic designer turned into business coach, into now YouTuber, influencer, business coach type guy. Just a phenomenal, awesome dude. And I saw his hat. It said, God is a Designer. I was like, I need that because I love that. And so anyway, started following the brand, got a hat, gave it away when in Mozambique in the bush in Africa, gave it away to a kid out there that I just really connected with. And then anyway, Morgan wrote this book. We needed help to get the word out about it, and also just to see like, hey, I mean, writing a book and publishing it costs money. And so we're looking at different ways to kind of raise some money. And so, dude, I just took a shot. I just DM'd God as a Designer, Angel, the founder, director, owner of God as a Designer, and his wife, Kadri, who is the creative director at VU Church down in Miami.
Mm.
And so I kind of used that as like the hook, because working at working at Free Chapel for 6 years, we had Don Cherie and Rich Wilkerson Jr. at the church a lot for different conferences and things like that. So I definitely used that to like help solidify, like, hey, like I'm a real guy, yada yada yada. Anyway, long story. I'm gonna get to the point. Messaged them. They had a baby line that said "fearfully and wonderfully made" or "wonderfully made," and so obviously that comes from, I think, Psalm 139 about David saying, "I'm fearfully and wonderfully made." And so I was like, hey, let's put them to the test. Like, do they actually stand behind this? And so I messaged all three of them, the brand, Angel, and Carter, and ended up getting a meeting invite back from Angel saying, hey, I love what you're doing. This book is amazing. You don't know this, but I'm on the board of a facility here in Miami where it's a facility for adults with disabilities. And he's on the board. And just like, he's like, me and Carter have been praying about, how to get back to this community. And then your message just popped in. I happen to have an open spot in my schedule. Let's make this happen. And so, dude, put wind in our sails, like actually confirmed what we were doing in writing this book. And it made us feel like, okay, we're on the right path to write this book. And it wasn't just like, hey, we had this cool idea or crazy idea. It was like, no, this is actually a really good idea, and the community actually needs this book.
Yes.
And so that was almost 2 years ago, about 18 months ago. And so we've kind of stayed in touch. Me and Angel would go back and forth on a couple of things. I got to like collab with God as a designer on a couple of different posts. I'm just like, dude, what in the world is this? What's going on? How is this happening? And anyway, just really cool, man. And actually this week I've messaged Carter a couple times. Like, I'm going on this big project next week in Oklahoma City. YouVersion is doing this billion installs for the Bible app.
The
1 billion
app,
installs
yeah.
on the Bible app.
Remember you talking about
And
that.
what's their number one inspiration? VU conference. And so I'm sitting here like, I know her.
The connections, yeah.
Yeah. And so again, like, I just messaged her. I was like, hey, like, just want to let you know this is what's going on. You're the number one inspiration, or you're the conference, obviously, but you're the creative director, so you have overall oversight of that. And so again, like, I think everybody needs that encouragement, no matter what level you're at. And two, it's just cool to know people in the industry who are like being the inspiration behind so many different, especially in the church world and in the churches and in other ministries and big events. So it's just cool to have those connections and those relationships.
That's awesome. I'm glad you bring that up, because that leads me to this question. How do you, like, did you always have these kind of connections? Because I know you've done stuff with, Andy Mineo. You've done stuff with worship, Elevation. You've done multiple, through connections, right? Maybe you can explain that a little bit better, but have you always had these connections, or how did you, because I feel like there's still so much power in reaching out. People, I don't know if I've come to realize, just even yesterday, I don't reach out as like I used to. I need to reach out again, because I think there is a lot of importance in that, but also evaluating the heart posture, right? What are your intentions to reach out? But yeah,
right.
Did you always have that?
No, I feel like I've always had good relationships with mentors in my life. Like, the Lord's always just placed that. Morgan will tell anybody that. She's like, man, Stephen's always had these mentors in his life at every stage. Like in middle school and high school, like, had youth leaders and my youth pastor, and then high school into college had a spiritual father, and then which we still keep in contact today. And in fact, he texted me the other day. This is insane. He spent like the past probably 3 years reading the Bible every day and taking notes in it specifically for me. So if a verse pops out, he'll write something beside it, And so that Bible is supposedly in the mail, or about to be in the mail. So I'm super excited about that. But again, just like a spiritual father in my life. Now, I mean, we've kind of our relationship has distanced quite a bit since I've been married and had kids and working, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I had a mentor, a spiritual father, and then from that, I also had another mentor in my life who was I was in a worship choir in college, and so whenever we go sing at a church, most of the time we'd stay at a host home.
Yeah.
And so he was just a host. He was my host parent, my host home.
It's good.
And we stayed in contact. I went up to DC over the summer and hit him up. I was like, hey, man, I'll be in DC. He lives in Baltimore. And so we got to grab dinner there and just hang out a little bit. And so, again, like we still stay in contact today. His name's Dan. He's an author and mentor. So just an awesome dude. So, I mean, I say all that to say, like, I've always had mentors in my life. But as far as these professional connections, a lot of it's just come through relationships that I already have. Like with Andy, that just came from a guy that I went to college with that I'm still really close to today. And he's a music producer in college. He was our keyboard player for the worship choir. And we weren't really necessarily close in college. We were both, I guess, kind of leaders in our own regards, but like we never hung out. We never,
it was like one of those connections where you kind of just knew about each other. You knew that
we
person
just knew about each other. So he was like proficient in music, and then I was the video historian, and so like I would do some videos here and there. And anyway, we just connected through Farflung, which is the missions organization that we're all a part of. And he's like, man, you really love doing this, don't you? I was like, oh yeah, man, like traveling the world, documenting missions, like absolutely feel called to document the gospel. And so he's like, man, my church is, we want to do stuff like this. Like, would you be interested in helping out with that? I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. Let's make it happen. And so that just kind of grew. And then it turned into like, hey, he wants to have like this. He lived in DC at the time. He wanted to have this studio all in one where artists can come in, they could write, they could record, and they could do like merch design, they could do photo shoots, they can do music videos, like all in this one-stop shop type thing. He's like, would you be interested in doing that? He's like, I've got some connections with a couple of different artists, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, just let me know. I'd love to be involved. And so I was going down to our pool in Buford when we lived in Buford. And he calls me. He's like, hey, bro, you got 30 seconds. I'm like, yeah, I got 30 seconds. I'm walking into the pool. Turned into a 30-minute conversation. He's like, I'm out in Malibu. We're writing with Andy. He wanted to do this music video, so we shot it. He's like, there's this spot on the lens. You know how the sensor gets dirty and there's like a little spot? He's like, can you remove that? It's a one-take music video. And I was like, yeah, I can do that.
Wait,
and then
before you keep going, where can people watch this video? Because I feel like that was one of your best videos, in my opinion.
Oh, really?
One of your best.
It's called
you
OTOD.
Have so many. OTOD. Andy Mineo.
OTOD.mp4.
There you go.
Andy Mineo. Check it out on the YouTube. But yeah, man, so it was a one take. They did it where they filmed in half speed, so we doubled it in post. And they wanted not only to remove that spot, they wanted it to match, so I had to double the speed. And then they're like, oh, can you color grade it? Because it's inside, it's outside, it's different color temperatures, it's all this stuff. And then they wanted to add like zooms and some animations and some like shake effects and some smoke and, all this stuff. So it turned into like a pretty big project. But all that, again, came from, which we kind of talked about before, like working for free. I didn't agree to a budget at anything. I was just like, hey, I'm helping my friend and we have this cool opportunity. And this could lead to more stuff, which it did. And
the underlying root, sorry to cut you off, really was just having just that simple connection, just knowing people. And for those that are listening too, if God, you'll be surprised where what room God places you in. But, don't focus on that because, at least for me, right? It's interesting that we're even talking about this because you grew up around mentors, and that's a blessing. Mm-hmm. I didn't grow up with mentors, and that was also a blessing. But I also learned that the hard way. I didn't know you could go out and reach out to people, and I think we have that we have those people on that side as well that could maybe question like, but how do you get in a room like that, or where do you start? Because I have zero connections. I don't know the indie menios, or I don't know the friend that knows of another friend. And sometimes it really is like that. But if you are in, I think the best place to start, at least for me, and maybe we can talk about this, but volunteering for a church was probably the best thing I've ever done. Yep. Because it truly helps you. It takes away, yourself out of whatever we need to serve in. And I think just being part of even Free Chapel, right? That's where we met, right?
Yep.
I remember you were coming back from a trip, and I first met you there, and it was just right off the bat, we knew it was a bro to bro. And so anyways, I feel like church, just volunteering, no strings attached, just serving is such a great place to start. And some people sometimes make that mistake of they'll get into the church, especially the mega churches, because they want to start to find the followings. And I feel like God honors your heart. So sometimes you don't even start where you want to start.
Yeah, that scripture came to mind, like, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And I think that's the premise of relationships. That's the premise of what you said, volunteering at a church. Because, dude, you can smell those guys from 2 miles away, right? And those who are trying to use ministry as a stepping stone to get somewhere, right? And in my mind, mind, being in ministry is not a stepping stone to get anywhere. Ministry is the end, right? It's not a means to an end. It's not a means to, man, if I start at my church with 200 people and I start volunteering and I start doing this, then I can go to a mega church. And then once I get in the mega church, then I could do this. Then I could start my business. Then I could do this. Then I could do that. And just it's like, no, man, like that's not how it works. Certainly people do that and take advantage of it for sure, because especially working at a mega church, you're just exposed to so much at a high level, because there's so many high caliber people operating and in the works, making the church what it is, especially on the production side of things. I can speak for that because I've been there. And it can very much be a stepping stone, whether at, in production or in music or in worship leading or in even pastoring. It can be a stepping stone, but like you said, God looks at your heart. And the same is true for relationships. If you're just pursuing a relationship because this person has this other connection, dude, they can smell that from 2 miles away, and it's like it's not going to be genuine. It's going to lead to a lot of frustration. And so for me, I want to build relationships just for the sake of building relationships, whether business-wise it goes anywhere or not. I'd much rather have this relationship. And there's this podcast I used to listen to when I thought about going on full-time with Far Flung, the missions organization. And I think it's called Fully Funded podcast. But there are two marketing people helping ministry leaders and missionaries raise funds on a practical sense, on a marketing sense, on email campaigns and the importance of social media and newsletters and not forsaking the small things and all those types of things. And so one thing they always said was relationships are rocket ships.
There you go.
And relationships will take you places that you never thought you'd be able to go. And again, that's not to abuse relationships, but that is the truth behind relationships, is that they will take you places you never thought were possible, because everybody has their own circle. And if you touch just the outer rim of a bigger circle, then all of a sudden, man, you could take off and over there.
Yep.
And then that mutual connection can take you, so it's like this whole web of connections that can happen just straight through relationships. And so But all that to say, if you're not genuine in pursuing a relationship, if you're not genuine in maintaining a relationship, and if you're not genuine in wanting to just to be present and knowing somebody and helping somebody, then those relationships aren't really gonna have any fruit in your life.
That's good. Yeah.
And so anyway, always want to give, more blessed to give than to receive.
That's good. That's good. What verse did you say that was?
I just looked it up. I think it's Acts 20,
Acts
30
20.
something. Paul's quoting Jesus. I thought Jesus said it.
While you look that up, I want to say, I learned this the hard way because, and sometimes you can't blame the situation, but for me at least, I remember never asking for help because I still sometimes struggle with that, but most of the time it's the fear of rejection or fear of, or not even just fear, but wanting to be in control, feeling like, no, you know what, I'll figure this out on my own. And, it's like, I was talking to a pastor the other day, and it's like he said to me, it's like, he goes to CrossFit, frequently, I think like every day or 5 times a week, something like that. And he's like, I would never do CrossFit alone. I would never show up to the gym and do CrossFit by myself, because there's so much power in even just that community of doing it together. Even just a simple workout. It's not really simple. It's kind of brutal, but it makes sense. Like, you're going to work a lot harder trying to do things. Can you do it on your own? Absolutely. But there comes a time and place. Yes, God will put you in a season of isolation and all of that, but eventually faith without works is dead. You have to reach out. You have to ask the questions that you don't know, and not just for the intention of, again, wanting to grow or get more or just get, like you were talking about, but just simply, I learned that the hard way, just exhausting myself. And I didn't grow up with mentors because I didn't even know you could grow up, you could have a mentor. I didn't even know what that was like. And, now I'm 30. I'm doing all the things that I should have done maybe 5-6 years ago. So I think, it's important to talk about as well, maybe a few things, what you shouldn't do when trying to network, because people are people. And sometimes, we're all in this, but we can get selfish. We can just become self-centered and only think about what is in it for me. And so, I want to talk about what are a few things to not do when networking, because I can name one off the bat, right?
Yeah, go for it. See if you take my answer.
I stopped, and this is just me being honest, I stopped caring how many followings someone has. That's one thing. Sometimes you try to, okay, you're eyeing these people because they got this amount of following. But you know what I learned? I've had some clients with the followers 200, following 3,000, and those are the ones that have the best connections. I've learned that not because they're online, but business-wise, they have way more connections. And so God has tested me in that a few times. But again, I think, there is leverage. There's levels to people's growth, and it's evident sometimes following helps. It's more exposure. But if I'm being honest, I've had some people with huge amount of following that I've worked with, and even just on a practical or just business standpoint, they don't pay too well. So again, going back to things to not do during networking it's just, again, that heart posture. Not you're focused on the wrong things. What about?
I think you hit the nail on the head, right? So I think one mistake you can make in forming a new relationship, business wise, is looking at the short term. What can you gain? You mentioned it, being selfish. What can I gain from this conversation? What can I gain from this relationship? What contract am I thinking about in my head? What offer am I thinking about? How am I going to position myself to be the best at X, Y, and Z in their mind in this conversation and framing it that way, rather than just like, hey, being present and being interested in asking questions. That's something I struggle with because I grew up just feeling like I should know everything already. I grew up feeling like, there's a Japanese proverb, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. And that to me is like, okay, well, if I ask a question, then I'm going to stick out. So I'm not going to ask a question. I should just like pretend like I know what they're talking about, rather than being interested. Like, oh, like, how'd you get started? Oh, where are you from? Oh, sweet. Like, I love that. Okay, like, how long you been? Just like simple conversation. A lot of times I think we just make things way too complicated. I do that in my head. I'm just like, well, if I ask this, then they're going to think this, and that snowball's going to go start at the top of Mount Everest, and it's gonna just like take out everybody on the way down. It's just like, no, like most people don't think that way. And so, so looking at the short term, what can I gain? And I say that because now, like, I've been in Chattanooga for almost 5 years, and
has it really been that long?
Clients.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. It's been 4. Well, I say almost 5. I feel like it's almost been 5, but it's really August was 4.
That's half a decade, though.
So that's insane.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Yeah. So I'm having clients who are starting to come back around that I started working with back at the end of 2021. Right now it's the end of 2025. So 4 years ago, I was working with them. And for whatever reason, they went a different direction or whatever. But like now they're starting to come back. Why? Am I the best videographer in Chattanooga? Not really. Like there's tons of other people who offer what I offer. But it's more so, okay, like did I enjoy working with these people? Did they deliver on time? Was it high quality? Were they easy to work with, or did they push back, or did they nickel and dime for everything, for every revision, for every change, or for every small little thing? Like, did they charge me for it, or was it just like, oh no, we can take care of that? Like, so anyway, I say again, I lay all that out to say like, man, if I was only interested in that short term contract, man, I would have written them off, never would have talked to them again. Like, they did me wrong, they did me dirty, whatever it may be. But it's like, no, it's like, man, people are people. Businesses
Absolutely.
are businesses. They have to make business decisions sometimes. And sometimes in the stage of business that they're in may not make sense to have a high-end retainer package on their payroll.
Yeah.
And they could shift that somewhere else, and they could come back 4 years later, 5 years later, and say, oh man, like we need that again. Can you help us? So looking at relationships from a long-term perspective.
There's something that some people may not know about me, and I don't really share too much of it, maybe on TikTok only, this, Steven, but it coexists. It's a great example, but I don't promote. For those that don't know, I do dog training on the side. That's just more of my relaxation. That's like my hobby. That's what I love to do outside of my video creative space. But just to this day, I mean, I do not promote it. I don't do anything. But there is a ongoing connection that just yesterday, people still reach out to me about simply dog training. Hey, can you train my dog? People will remember you for you simply because of not what you did, or not for your following, not for, your gear. Again, gear matters, gear doesn't matter, whatever. But at least for me, what I've come to learn is people will remember you simply for who you are and what you truly, what is authentic, what is organic, what are the things that are about you that people like. And so I think I found that pretty interesting because, I don't promote my dog training, and and there's still people that the results are there, and people
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. You'd be surprised who is talking about you, and it's not for you to worry about that, but it happens. And it's just, if you stay focused. And I was gonna say another thing, because you see, with what you were saying, I don't know if you've been heard about this or with this matter, but sometimes it's just business. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
business
Yeah.
versus relationship. Sometimes it's just work versus
Oh.
connection. And
Yeah.
so I have a hard time because of my heart. I want
Mm-hmm.
to fully connect with every person that I work with. And
Mm.
sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just a surface level relationship. And I'm talking more so not the retainers. I'm speaking, sometimes there's certain gigs, right? You just run into certain
Mm-hmm.
rooms with certain people, and you kind of just go from there. I've worked with some people in Mexico that I still have a connection with, but on a personal level, maybe not. But once there's a
Mm-hmm.
gig, or if there's something that we may want to just revise, or just an edit that I may send, or a shoot that there's upcoming, sometimes it's just business. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been hurt by that, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been hurt pretty bad. We talked about it on the phone this past week.
Yep.
I'm like, bro, like it's been a few months have gone by since this relationship kind of business relationship kind of went south. And for no fault. Again, it's just like they're in a different phase of business than so they didn't need my services anymore. And over the years, like we've been working together, like developed a really good friendship with one of the owners. And so like when they had to cut ties, I was just like, dude, this hurts.
Yeah.
I told him on the phone, I was like, man, this hurts. And yeah, I mean literally just like had to give it to the Lord the other day. Just like, all right, God, like I can't fix this.
Mm.
I cannot go into their mind, into their business to make this contract work again. I can't do any of that, and you're gonna have to take care of it. And I just felt like this wave of peace just hit me. It's like, okay, this is what it's like working with the Lord,
Mm.
right? And I think too that is a lot like church hurt, a lot like pastors. I feel like isolate themselves a lot because they've been hurt so much. And I've never been a pastor, so I don't know that level of pain or betrayal that they may feel. But to me, it's like to have any good relationship, you have to be vulnerable and you have to put yourself out there and you have to say, you know what? Vulnerability, one of my college professors said vulnerability is like giving somebody your deepest secrets or your deepest pain and trusting and giving them the knife and
Mm.
trusting that they won't cut you, trusting that they won't hurt you with that knife of your biggest pain or your vulnerability. Not to say you have to be like super vulnerable with all your clients and things like that, but
Right.
I do think if I were just to look at business from a straight business standpoint and everything's a business relationship, man, I think that just sucks all the fun out of it.
It's good.
Because I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate with my clients. Like I want to celebrate um, when they open up a new location. Personally, I want to celebrate when they get the big client that they've been wanting to get for so long, or they've been trying to close this one client for 2 years, and all of a sudden they get to close the client, or their kids win the championship, or win some kind of award, or whatever it may be. Like I want to be there to celebrate the people that I work with because ultimately I want to enjoy who I'm working with,
Yeah.
and it's vice versa. I want people to enjoy working with me. And I think like whenever I'm hiring contractors to help out with shoots, like I'm looking at their technical ability, but I'm looking at, okay, am I going to have to ask them, get this shot, get that shot? Or are they going to be self-starters and they're going to do it? Are they going to be complaining the whole time? Oh, I only got 3 hours of sleep last night, or blah, 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 or this is so hard. I'm just like, see ya. Or is it going to be somebody who just like puts their head down and works and like, hey, what do you need? How can I help? is I want to work with people like that and who are easy to work with and who are good people.
That's
Right?
good.
Like when I'm shooting weddings, I want to if the photographer's trying to get the shot and the bride's struggling with her veil, or the dress needs to be fluffed, like guess what? Dude, I'm putting my camera down, I'm fluffing the dress, or I'm holding a bouquet while the photographer's getting his or her shot. So it's things like that, just being a good person, that I feel like goes so far in life and in business.
Ooh, that's
Because
you just brought a
I
great.
just
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, we just complicate things so much in business. We think because it's business we have to be this certain kind of way. But like, just be authentic, be yourself, and be a good person,
Yeah.
and see where that takes you. Go ahead.
So, well, two things I wanted to say. Man, there's so much I want to talk about, and I'm trying not to worry about the time. But the first thing I want to say is, so this is a great example. So Steven and I, we recently had a shoot on Sunday last week.
Yep.
And
Yep.
at the end of the shoot, I haven't seen Steven in a while. And this time we got to see each other. How long had it been? Maybe a few months since that one wedding?
It's been a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that one that we didn't even shoot together.
Yeah.
You were shooting photos at a different wedding. You hired me to be the lead video. And so
Yes.
Fredo popped in before his 10-hour photo
Bro.
shoot day. He popped in with us for 2 hours. Anyway.
Yes, you're right. Okay, so at the end of that shoot that we had on Sunday, sometimes I don't know if you struggle with this, but from creative to creative, or creatives, whoever's listening, sometimes I just want to go to, so for example, when we did that shoot, at the end of it, shout out to Clark, he asked if I wanted to, if I wanted to have lunch with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I said no. And I felt guilty about it, not because I struggle with saying no, but because did I want to, have that moment and sit there? Yes. But sometimes, if I'm being honest, I just want to get home to my wife. And, it's it's been a long week, but you understand that. I understand that. And so sometimes there is those moments where, it's not that deep. Like, hey, we may not commute outside of this job, and it's okay. But if I'm being honest, I did struggle with it, because I'm like, I should have stayed. But then it's like, you got to be okay with your decision. But even Britzy, my wife, she was like, why didn't you stay? You should have hung out with Steven. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
And so
you get in your head so much thinking about it, right?
Seriously. And I do want to acknowledge, like, that's something I want to get even better at, because even just working, right? I needed to get back home and finish another job. But in totality, I wanted to get home and really have a nice meal with my wife, just because we haven't really had that all week. And so I think being okay with that, being mature about that, being honest about things like that. But overall, I do want to say that is something I'm still working on, with just going to get lunch with another creative, simply, outside of work, outside of all these things that we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I got that. One, I want to say, you were at that shoot because of our relationship.
There you go.
Not to say like I brought you somewhere that was like life changing. It was an awesome service, right? And it was a cool experience. But we had another shooter who was contracted in. He ended up getting sick and was kind of like on that, like 18 hours fever free. And me and Clark are like, we had this big shoot coming up in Oklahoma City. We're like, I don't want to risk getting sick. Clark doesn't want to risk getting sick, you know? So anyway, I was like, well, let me text my buddy Fredo. Let me see if he can come down and help out with this. And like, dude, you knocked it out of the park. Like, made my job as the editor a million times easier than the previous night, not having a high quality shooter at the event. So anyway, like that again just proves to show Brandon and I've had this relationship. He's an awesome person, a great shooter. And dude, like I tell you, like honestly, whenever you showed up Sunday morning, it like lifted us emotionally.
Same here.
Just having your presence, your fresh perspective, the energy that you brought was like, I'm not gassing you up, Brandon. This is like for real, like
Appreciate
just brought
that.
life to that. So again, just how you show up, how you work, how you get the shots, how you're constantly moving and doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
Spoke a lot of who you are.
And before you keep going, I want to say this, like you may not know this, but God will place you in rooms and not on a creative standpoint. I actually needed that service more than the actual shoot because I went through the prayer walk and the pastors started praying for the entire church, but I felt led to go through that. And so that was a lot more impactful for me. And I realized this is why I needed to be here. That was like my aha moment. Like, this is why you were here. Not, of course I wanted to also be with you guys and get the job done. But yeah, like God really showed me something that day that I needed personally. And so, man, I feel like we kind of see things mutually, and I appreciate what you're saying. But as soon as I saw you, I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day.
Oh yeah.
And
But man, you just challenged me so much on this idea of relationships, on this idea of being present and being humble. A lot of times I've gotten to a place where I viewed work as work. And working at a church can do that.
That's good.
You can in some way isolate yourself, like this is work versus this is ministry, this is spirituality, this is life. And bro, you just challenged me so much to like humble myself, to say, you know what, like yeah, I could use some prayer. I could use some people laying hands on me and praying over me in this moment. But instead, like I was like locked in and I was like so much into like this business mode.
Yeah.
Get work done. I came here on assignment so everybody else could have their enjoyment. Right. But I think that's a bad way to look at life and ministry. That's how people get burnt out. That's how relationships start to crumble, because then all of a sudden you're viewing this whole ministry spirituality side as like, well, I'm just here to make this happen. I'm not really involved in this. I'm not really as important. And I think that can trickle down into a lot of different areas in life. But anyway, bro, you just challenged me in that. So thank you for saying that. Man. Thank you for going through the prayer line and actually like receiving ministry, because I think when I'll speak to all the creatives in church, when you're serving, when you're working, when you're paid as a contractor or full-time staff, like the Lord still sees you and he still wants you to be involved. And he still wants you to receive, whether that's in a traditional sense of like being in the service, or that's in the non-traditional sense of being in a control room or having an instrument in front of you or doing whatever you have to do out in the parking lot, whatever it is you may do at the church. Like the Lord still wants to encounter you in that, and just always have that heart posture of worship and receiving what the Lord wants to give to you.
It's good.
And so I say that that's where I've been, of like, man, I've been in so many church services and so many different impactful moments, and I've just kind of like, yes, I can feel the Lord's presence in his spirit whenever I'm working in that, but am I fully surrendered to that moment?
Yes.
To do my job, but also to receive what I feel like the Lord has for me to receive.
Something I found inspiring about the church, what's the name of the church?
Ascend.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah,
Ascend Church. That's exactly my point. What I loved about it is there's no logo walking in, I didn't know, what the name of the church was, because it was so last minute when you reached out. But what inspired me the most was when the pastor, because yes, we are so caught in labor and work and serving, and he called out the production team, hey, I need every cameraman to come through the prayer walk, cut the cameras off, shut them off. And the live stream ended. And you see the entire camera crew in the prayer walk. And I found that so inspiring because, yes, sometimes we just get caught with work, serve, and we leave church and, you know, we don't really receive what the Lord wants us to, you know, to receive. And so I finalized a little bit, change off topic, not really. Oh, I guess yes, but I want to end with also, if you got to the end, also learn how to forgive your family, even in business, because
So good.
I made a mistake in holding them to a standard. They don't support me. They don't view my business. They don't want to see me grow. They don't want to see me succeed. And really, family is family. And I think for me, on a business standpoint, the biggest mistake I made was thinking that was my business connections. You know, because you want that support. And I'll be honest, I didn't really get support from my family, but I've gotten to a place now where I've learned to forgive and fully forgive, not just pretend and say, no, it's okay. No, I forgave because, one, it removes me from that tension. It removes me from those thoughts that don't belong in my mind. But in a nutshell, also learn how to forgive family when they don't support you or you don't have a good connection relationship in business with family. Do you think it should coexist? I mean, you know,
Yeah, I mean, working with family is always difficult, right? The same with working with friends.
Yeah.
Like, because again, like it's so vulnerable. You put yourself out there, they know you know them. And if things don't work out business wise, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, can we still have this friendship? Can we, you know, like, can we still be family? So it is tricky. It is very difficult. It is. It's just life. It's always more complicated. And two, the thing that I've realized, the more things that we've started and had our own little venture in, the more we've realized people who we thought were going to show up and support us weren't the ones actually supporting us and showing up.
My biggest supporters are in Germany, Sweden. You know what I'm saying?
That's wild. Yeah, and so it's like a lot of times it comes from that person in high school that you had no relationship with, that it's like, oh, I absolutely love what you're doing. Let's get behind it. Let's do that. You know, so it's like with my buddy Jeremy, just like, you know, like I had no idea. We weren't really friends in college. Like we knew each other, but it's just like, okay. And now we're really close, and you know, the doors that we've opened for each other is just phenomenal. And you just never know where that support's going to come from. And it's unfair to family to put expectations on them, and unfair to close friends to put expectations on them to support your every move and everything that you do. But yes, I think it's human nature to want support from those who are closest to you.
Yeah.
Because you feel like, okay, they know what's going on, and they should be there to help lift me up.
They should like every post. They should comment on every post. And
yeah, they should share it. Hey, and you should too.
You should subscribe as well. And, yeah.
But no, man, like, yeah, I feel that 100%. And on that, like, side of family and support, the last thing I want to leave with is, like, relationships are so important to have those people in your inner circle who you can call, who are walking through similar situations, that understand the struggles, that understand the ins and the outs. And again, I think this is where so many people kind of get isolated. It's because they feel like nobody else knows what they're going through. Right? Elijah had that in the Bible. The greatest prophet in the Old Testament. God, you've left me out here. I'm the only one. And God's like, dude, I got what was it, 1,000 prophets, 800 prophets? They're over here. Like, you're good. You're not the only one, right? It may feel like that, but you haven't opened yourself up to community to receive that help.
Good.
And it's like that in I think it's like that in every sphere, in every niche. There's so many people who are on the quote mountaintop that you can connect with, right? So many leaders say it's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the top. It's like, because you don't take anybody with you.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Because you're not opening yourself up to other people and bringing them in. And, again, like I've never been like wildly successful, so I don't know fully that pressure, but I do know what it's like to run my own business. And I do know what it's like to do everything in the business. And I know what it's like to have people around me.
That's good.
That I can call, that I can talk to, that I don't isolate. I try not to isolate myself. It's very easy to isolate myself, but it has to be that intentional effort to bring people in. And again, like this whole idea of cultivating, right? It takes work. It takes effort. It takes self-awareness. It is not easy to maintain relationships.
Mm-mm.
It's not easy to pick up the phone whenever you're in the middle of an edit, right? It's not easy to call somebody whenever you're struggling. Like, hey man, I don't know when my next paycheck's coming. Like, I need help. It's not easy, right?
Dude,
It's not.
It's not easy when this when you're in Mexico and now your business is growing and you have to build relationships, but now you're by force, by choice, or whatever you call it, you have to you got to keep your business going, but you're not even in the States to keep it going. So now you got to trust people and connect with people through the internet, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to connect for that time period. Because I was in Mexico for a year, and I keep saying we're going to talk about it sometime eventually, but we really are. Episode 9, because there is a few connections as well that I've gained, but also lost through it. And like you said it so great. And in business, it can get lonely, but it doesn't have to be. And so for me, when I was in Mexico, I lost one of my biggest gigs, and that connection, I got more hurt from the personal relationship aspect, but there's just so many things I was tested with. But overall, the point I'm trying to make for right now is that sometimes, yes, like for me, I had to make those connections through thousands of miles away, and I had no other choice, but my business had to keep going. And yeah, I think for episode 9, we should talk about that. And we should also talk about working from home. That's another one. That's a good one, because you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot there. Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, if y'all made it this far, thank you for watching to the end. You are the real deal. I'll tell you this much. If you like what you see, you can grab my setup. I need to put this mic on there. It's the Rode Pod Pro.
Something with Pro.
XLR input. Yeah. But anyway, it's my new mic. I like it. You can steal the setup. The link's in the description. You can follow us. You can follow the channel on YouTube. Subscribe to it. Hit the notification bell. That way, whenever I get around to editing this and uploading it, you'll know. You'll be the first one to know. So, yeah, do all those things that really help us. Fredo, thank you, man, for diving in today. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate our relationship. And man, it's like this hour just flew by. I feel like I could go for like another 2 hours and just deep dive even deeper into like this whole relationship aspect. But I hope this was helpful to you. I hope that you gained something. Again, overall, man, just be a good person, do a good job, and just be likable.
Heart posture.
So absolutely. Give. More blessed to give than to receive. So Fredo, love you, man. And I got to get the kids to school.
Yeah, man. I got to take the dogs out.
All right.
You know how it goes. But awesome.
Peace.